Okay, I think we're good. Is that audio okay? Okay. Dude, I started playing Blackstar amps in 2011, but I've been probably with the company. Phil, when did we like, what would you say? 20, I think 20, no, dude, I think it was truly like 2014 or 15 is when we first did the artist stuff. I would say 2014. Cool. Yeah, that's a good way. Absolutely. So I remember when I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't even have an amp. I didn't own an amp at the time. And all I had was my guitar. And I remember I was so gung-ho to get it together that I said, no matter what, I'm gonna figure this out. And the first studio that I went to, they had Blackstar amps and I'd never heard of them. This was in end of 2010. I remember looking at it and being like, okay, it looks cool, but what does it sound like? And this was a Series 1 100 watt. And I was like, all right. So I flip it on, put my guitar in, and at this point I am playing a Les Paul, strum an E chord, and I go, it's on the clean channel. I'm like, it sounds pretty good. And then I'm like, all right, what else do we got? I click it, it's like the clean dirty, and I'm like, ooh, now we're talking. And then I went to like the orange channel, which was like OD1. And I'll never forget, I hit it and I was like, wow, like I really like it. The thing that drew me right away was the fact that it had all of the UK stylings of an amp that I love, but it also had this really brilliance and shine, and it was reactive when I rolled down my volume. So for me, at the point, I wasn't even playing with pedals at this point. I was like, I want an amp that does it all. And when I found that amp, I found that. And from the moment I started my trio, Blackstar was behind me. So basically I'm shaping my sound, trying to figure out what am I gonna sound like? And it was through a Blackstar. And that was really cool. And then through the years, it just grew and grew where I knew every model inside and out, and I would go on tour and I'd HT, okay, I'd do that. I'd have an artisan, I'd have an artist, or whatever they were. I was always playing these Blackstars, and I just loved the tone of them. They've really helped shape my sound. Yeah, so to be completely honest, all of my recordings feature a Blackstar amp. I mean, from the very beginning, my first record, Old Glory and the Wild Revival, to my latest self-titled record. The cool part about the self-titled record, though, is we recorded live to tape. So we were like, on the money, let's go. We're not doing overdubs. I'm not looking for like a brilliance or some sort of thing. I had an artisan 100 watt, dimed, punch, dude, with a mic about 3 feet away. So if you listen to my last record, every single tone on that record, besides the Leslie stuff, where I plugged into like a Leslie speaker cabinet, that was the artisan plugged into that speaker cabinet, was through a Blackstar 412, just screaming. Man, I got into music when I was a kid. I mean, I remember listening to like classic rock radio when I was driving around with my parents in the car and loving it. I never like aspired to be a musician. It was more for me about the sound, the energy of that music. So like everything from like Led Zeppelin to the Mamas and the Papas to, I mean, I remember hearing like Hendrix and stuff when I was a kid, and I was like, this is just cool music. And then when it was time to figure out what I was gonna do as a teenager, I originally wanted to be a drummer, but I found the guitar, and that's when everything changed. That's when this love of music that I've always had turned into all of a sudden, okay, I'm playing guitar, I'm gonna learn how to play all this music. It was a really cool crossroads. So I was already destined to be a player before I'd even thought about it. Yeah, so originally my intent, I wanted to play drums because I thought that the guitar was pretty boring. I like the energy of the drums. I love the bombastic quality. When I'd listen to Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath, I would hear these drum fills in between all the, like going into it the next measure. And I was like, that's cool. I wanted to have the energy. And also a lot of people that I was going to school with, they were already playing the guitar. And I said, there's enough guitar players. I don't want to play the guitar. I want to play the drums. But I remember my brother's friend had a drum set, and I said, man, let me borrow it. So I borrow this drum set, bring it back to my parents' house, and I have like a boombox turned all the way up, and I'm trying to jam along with the radio. And my dad, he's like this hard construction worker. He walks downstairs and he goes, I'm not coming home to listen to you play the drums. He just put his foot down. The only time he ever said no. And I'll never forget that. And I remember like He goes, why don't you get a guitar? It has a volume knob. You can take it with you. And I was like, everybody plays the guitar. And he goes, man, if you learn how to play, we had like this really crappy old acoustic. He goes, if you learn how to play a riff on there, or like a song, as he said. So I learned Smoke on the Water in like 2 minutes. And I was like, fine, I'll try guitar. And then I'll never forget, man, I got my electric starter guitar kit. And I remember having the little amp, and I plugged it in and I strummed it, and it was clean. And I was like, this isn't the sound. But there was that little button that said like distortion. And I clicked it and it started screaming. And I was like, that's the sound. That's all it took, man. And all of a sudden I heard that sound and I was hooked. I was like, I want to make that sound. So my journey, it's been pretty wild, actually. It's, I think in any thing that you do in life, you have to take risks. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to go all in. And that's what I've done. I mean, since the beginning, I have had a very simple vision. I've wanted to play music, perform, play my guitar, take all the music basically that I love and breathe my own fresh air into it. I want to play for as many people as possible. I want to play wherever I can. And I think one of the things that in the first ground level is getting over that fear of losing, or getting over that fear of what if it doesn't work. So I've been very grassroots since the beginning. I have not worked with a lot of people in a sense of, I have this big team around me, or I'm surrounded. It's very DIY. It's been literally me, my manager Phil. Dennis has been playing the drums since the beginning. We've had a few different bass players, but really it's a small unit. So in the beginning, we were making all the music on our own. We started touring in a car with all the gear, and then we went to a Subaru Outback, which is a little bigger, then a minivan, now a Sprinter. We've done a few little bus tours and stuff, but it's all been grassroots. And of course, I've had the help from everyone from Blackstar to different companies I work for, Gibson, that I'm working with. And then, there's been a lot of help along the way of people that simply love and believe in the music. But I think no matter what level you get to, you always have to remain that grassroots diehard, because there's something about that if you say, I'm not going to wait for someone to do it for me, I'll just do it myself. That's when you start taking your own steering wheel and you say, I'm not going to wait to see if this ship comes in. I'm going to build my own ship and go out and do what I want. I think that's what's most powerful. It's a punk rock attitude, dude. It's so DIY that it's refreshing sometimes, because people often will say, oh, I need this or I need that. It's like, no, you need to believe in yourself. You need to have a vision and a commitment, and you need to just do it. Remember that one Shia LaBeouf? Just do it. My first experience with the St. James actually came, I would say it would have been about 15 months ago. I was invited in Nashville to Sound Emporium, one of my favorite studios, for a testing, almost like a screening of the St. James. It was actually right after I had that tour accident where I broke my arm, so I was still kind of wound up. And I remember at that point, I hadn't really played a lot of guitar for a moment. So I remember going in and I was hearing the St. James, and I'm going, okay, this sounds awesome. And I couldn't help myself. I had to pick up a guitar and play. So I remember when the first things that I noticed about the St. James when I played it, there was this clarity, but there was this almost throwback sound, but it felt fresh. It was like, it had all of that low bottom end that I loved. And when I hit a chord, everything was there. It had the intensity, it had like the brilliance. And when I played, it was almost like, okay, I don't even need a pedal. Like, it has enough of that. I wouldn't even say it was high gain, but it had enough inside of it. It was just a beast. And I remember leaving that day and I was like, geez, is this legal? St. James has been amazing on tour. Right now I'm running it in conjunction with my JJN20, which is my signature. And what I love about that is I know my signature amp so well. I've played that thing every day since it came out. So I know exactly what tones I can get out of it. And now that I'm combining that with that St. James, it almost gives me this vibe of like, I take all of that top end shimmer I love out of the JJN20 and the reverb, I know exactly where to set it. And then I bring in that JJN20 and it's almost like having a fast race car and putting the world's like biggest tires on it. It just gives it all that low push. And it really helps me as a player because when I'm playing live in a trio, the St. James, simply put, it does things that my amp doesn't do, mine does things that doesn't do. But when I'm playing riffs, that St. James can help carry me through. And that's really important because I think when you have an amp that's working with you to deliver the music, it makes it so much more enjoyable to play. Yeah, I've been so lucky to be able to tour, honestly, in so many different countries, everywhere from all over the States and North America to Japan to Egypt and everywhere in between. So I've been super lucky. All over, audiences are different. Some respectful, like in Japan, where they're like a light clap, to the point of like going to Spain or even Egypt, where they literally go insane. It's crazy. And the one cool thing, though, that I do notice is, as a performer, you can get into your own head and you can have like, oh, I don't know if they like it or they're going crazy, what's going on? But the reality is those people are there for a show. So what I try and do is just deliver night after night. And no matter if they're really respectful or really crazy, I just try and put on the most high energy show I can. Well, you know, when we're on tour, I do have some rituals, some things I try and do. I try and, if I can, I try and get a little exercise in, hit the gym, clear my head before playing, or, you know, some point during the day, just to kind of get away from it. Because on tour, you're always surrounded by it, whether you're traveling to the show, you get to the show, you're doing interviews, you're talking about music, sound check is always there. So sometimes I like to just detach myself from it, just completely get away from it, which is a really nice feeling. Otherwise, pre-show rituals, man, not much. It's almost like it's a mental game, I think. Playing shows, a lot of people can get in their own heads and say, oh man, like, you know, I'm nervous about tonight's show. I used to have that, but now almost I try and get in a headspace where I'm feeling inspired to play. And I'm almost putting myself in the position of someone that's coming to the show. And I'm thinking, I want to be able to deliver. I want to be able to come and bring like an amazing show for them. So before I play, it's almost like I kind of do flip the switch, right? I get in a mindset where I can say, all right, cool, let's do this, let's rock. When you cut me, it kills me so good. Absolutely, I got many tips, man. Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. Run as fast as you can. Okay. My biggest tips for anyone that's looking to pick up a guitar for the first time is just to tell you how fun it is. Here I am all these years later. I picked up a guitar when I was 15, and now I am 33, and I am still, every time I pick it up, it brings me joy. The best part about the guitar and being creative is it's not a competition. Although guitar is really fun because you can watch your progress as the more you practice, you know, the better you get, the more you can say on the guitar. Whether you want to pick up the guitar just to learn some of your favorite riffs to jam along with, or to strum and sing songs, or to be the biggest rock star in the world, the guitar is such an endless road that's amazing. And I think that everyone that picks it up has such a personal experience with it. And it's so cool because everyone from every walk of life can pick up a guitar and have a really, really beautiful relationship with it. And if I have any experience, just play what you love and have fun. Well, to be honest, when I picked up the guitar at 15, yeah, a lot of my friends had already been playing for years. And there's one thing that I had over them though, was the hunger to learn. And when I picked it up, I went, okay, this is mine now. Like, I was so into it, and I would always go to my friends, I'd say, hey, what riffs do you know? And they'd be like, oh, here's Enter Sandman. I'd be like, dude, how'd you play that? And, you know, I'd be like, oh yeah, I was like a sponge, man. I was absorbing all of it. And the best part about it was I never looked at the guitar in a competitive way like that. At that point, it was just about learning as much as I could and getting this to the point of like, okay, cool, like I'm having so much fun practicing the guitar. Before I knew it, I was getting pretty good. So it was cool.
Have fun tonight.
Rock and roll. Thanks, guys.
We'll get some footage for the sound check.
Yeah, dude.
And then we're going to get footage of the gig as well.
Fuck yeah. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Watch me go.